All right, we're going to start this evening's board meeting. Flint Board of Education order of business. Okay, I would like to call the Flint Board of Education Board Committee of a Whole meeting to order. The time is 6:37. Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, 5:38 now. Board members, as I call your name, please please reply present for the record. Treasurer McIntyre,
Present.
Trustee Walker,
Present.
Assistant Secretary Treasurer McNeil.
Present.
Myself is present, and we are waiting Ms. Green. At this time, the board will hear any comments from the public. If you have a script, please turn it into the board's executive assistant, Ms. Monica Elston. We ask that you state your reason for addressing the board and that you limit your remarks to 3 minutes on matters within the jurisdiction of the board and not address individuals by name. Proceed, ma'am.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Kay Schwartz. I'm director of the Flint Public Library, and I'm glad to be here this evening. I know you have an important task on your agenda that relates to the library. I just wanted to be here tonight to offer my support as a resource. If any questions come up that relate to board service on the Flint Public Library Board, I would be happy to answer those. So thanks so much for undertaking this important task for us.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Sure.
How you doing?
Great.
Okay, so I just want, I'm not sure exactly what you guys do at the board, but I know you do a lot of stuff, okay? But as a local author, I'm always concerned about the involvement that local authors have with the library and other entities, but especially the library. And I think we've talked about it before in a group setting.
Yeah.
I still really never got clarification on that, but just, I guess it's not a question, just I would like to see more involvement for local authors. And that's something I'm gonna continue to push for. I've been fighting for that with different entities, and I'm not seeming to be getting anywhere, but I would appreciate if the board would consider local authors in their endeavors. That would be great.
Sure. And you mean considering your books for the collection and events and that sort of thing? Is that what you're talking about, Ms. Green?
And anything else you guys do.
Okay. Well, and we do offer space for local authors to have their own book signing events at the library. We have for many years offered that opportunity. So.
And how does one go about taking advantage of that opportunity?
Well, when we move back into our renovated building in early spring of 2022, we will have information about that. And actually, before that, we'll have information for local authors about that.
Okay. I'll talk to you a little later too, because I got some more questions, but I don't want to hold you up. Thank you so much.
Just give me a call.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Are there any other questions from any other board members? Seeing there is none. Okay. At this time, I seek a motion and a second to go into closed session to consult with legal counsel regarding pending litigations.
So move.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded that we meet in closed session. Board members, when I call upon your name, please say yes or no to go into closed session. Ms. Danielle Green?
Yes.
Ms. Laura McIntyre?
Yes.
Mr. Adrian Walker?
Yes.
Ms. Joyce McNeil?
Yes.
And myself is a yes for me. Board members, we are now in closed session. We will meet in the room right behind us. Public members, we will return here following our closed session. To order, the time is 7:23. I now turn the floor over to Trustee Walker for the Human Resources Committee of a Whole meeting.
I would like to call the Human Resources Committee of the Whole meeting to order. I will now call upon Ms. Rubin to present the action items to the board. Oh, sorry. She's coming. She's coming. Good evening.
Before we present action items, can I ask if the board members have received a copy of the tentative agreement for the teachers union? Thank you. I wanted to inform you that the teachers received this copy of the tentative agreement as well on September 13th. They are going to vote and have their ratification vote on September 20th and September 21st. They should have an answer for me at the end of the meeting on September 21st. President Karen Christian is going to call me and let me know the decision of that vote. So I just wanted to let you guys know that this was an effort to get this to you as soon as possible, as soon as they received it as well, so that you would have time to review it as well. I know that we've heard concerns about not getting information to you in a timely fashion. And so I just want you to know I worked really hard to try to get this to you early. And the union is anxious about this going to vote. So I hope that you will please review it and consider it for approval in any future meetings coming up. Now, I seek a motion and a second to move action item 1.6, personnel recommendations, to the regular board meeting tonight for adoption.
It has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Ms. McIntyre.
In the previous meeting, we discussed separating each individual appointment to discuss each one individually. I don't have an issue with moving forward the retirements and the resignations. But the recommendations for employment, I would like to discuss, so perhaps we could separate those. I'm not sure I'm in favor of moving them forward to be voted on until there's further discussion. So should I make a?
It can be, if she makes a request, you honor it.
Okay. We'll make sure we separate that. Any further discussion?
You want to have all of these separated tonight?
I would like to have the recommendations for employment separated from the retirement resignations, offers rescinded section.
And act on them individually?
Can we?
I would like to
individually?
act on the administrator positions individually, the teaching assignments.
Okay, yeah, that's
Can we
fine.
move forward? Yeah.
Yeah. Georgina, the only question I have was in regards to the replacement for Ms. Tomasi. I see that she's retiring, and just given her role as the coordinator of health services, and again, given everything that's going on with the pandemic, just wondering, again, are we planning to backfill that role, or what will happen in the interim?
That is a very key position in our district right now, especially under COVID.
Sure.
We've been crying all week. We're going to miss her dearly. But we are reposting that position so that we can get it filled in as fast as we can.
Okay.
So in the interim, Miss Melinda Carroll, actually Miss Eileen reports to Miss Carroll, And so Ms. Carroll and also interim assistant superintendent will be working together to fill that role until such a time as we can fill the position.
Okay. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, I'd like to ask about, Mr. Pete, is this for the position period, or is this a special assignment for him?
This was the original caption. I was told that the board packet was going to move forward. I understand that there's been some discussion that Mr. Jones can chime in on.
Yeah. So I know that there has been questions about Mr. P. So what I would like to, I don't know exactly how to do it, so I'll just say it, and then the board can handle it from there. But to make him interim, because I know that there has been some questions about, are we, being sure about him? But if we could make him interim, we can watch the behavior, we can watch the work while we're trying to move through this space we're in. If we could compromise that would be better, so that we can move forward in some of the work we're trying to complete right now.
She was first.
Ms. Green.
Oh, it's not about Mr. Pete, so if you're still talking about him, just go
And
ahead.
and also the candidate that I had suggested, due to the concerns of a background check, because Mr. Callahan did have a felony, is why he wasn't considered in the packet, and we didn't know how the board would feel about moving Mr. Callahan forward due to that. So I would like to have a discussion with the board so we can know that if that is not to be considered, that we get that in the open so these people don't have to submit their resumes and then find out at the end that they may not even be considered due to that.
That's an open position for
It-
that?
it-
It was already open?
Yes, it is an
It
open
had been put
position.
on.
It's an open position. Like I said, we didn't consider Mr. Callahan because Mr. Callahan had a felony. And even though the law does say that the board has a right to consider that, we didn't know how the board would feel about that, so it wasn't brought before the board. So I'm asking now, would that be something that the board would even consider, hiring somebody with
Well,
something?
I would just want more discussion, we don't know what type of, just more information is needed for me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just me. I don't know who Mr. Callahan is, but.
We just want to protect.
He's the gentleman
we just
that
want to
spoke
protect,
last.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, protecting the
We would
district.
like to protect his privacy.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yes.
so more
That's right.
conversation, but.
Mr. Callahan is okay with us discussing that, though. But we'll move forward. But I just wanted to put that on the conscience of the board, is because that's why Mr. Callahan, who is absolutely qualified to do the job, was not considered.
Okay.
But back to Mr. Jones' comment, are we all comfortable with placing the interim title?
That's what I
for-
meant.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I support
And
it.
Ms. Green.
Okay, so I'm looking at Monica Hicks Jackson. And I see, looks like she's going to be guest teacher and counselor intern at Home STEM Academy. Is that, she's serving dual roles? Is that what I'm understanding?
No,
Oh,
it says guest teacher because that's the program that she's coming under.
oh, okay.
Because counselors fall under the guest teacher program and counselors also fall under the teacher contract.
Okay. Oh, so, okay. Okay, so she actually will be a counselor intern.
She's a counselor intern. She's already master certified.
Okay.
She's done with all of her training. She's going through her, sort of like if she was a teacher, it would be her student teaching experience.
Okay.
But since she's an academic counselor, she's going through her academic counselor. She's working under our senior counselor, Ms. Forward.
Okay, because I was looking at the amount, and I said, that's it for dual role? Okay.
Right.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, I appreciate it.
Is there any further discussion?
So if we're considering the Director of Operations as a interim position, is that going to change the contract at all? I mean, what is the contract going to say? Is it going to be like a month to month? Like what is,
I mean, I'm just unclear about what we're voting on and what we're moving forward.
That would be the desire, whatever the desire of the board is. If you want to go month to month, if you want to go 3 months, it's up to the board.
Ms. McNeil.
In my opinion, I just think that we just should continue him as the interim. I don't think we should go month to month because of the crisis that we're in right now, because we're evaluating him month to month anyway. And that contract, kind of like an MOU, can end at any time. Is to perform. It's not where we our expectations. So I just think that we shouldn't have to deal with the month to month. And then if the person is doing well and 6 months later, we're where we think that we should be, then we just open it up again, for permanent. But right now, because of all the trials and errors that we've been in, that we should just take it slow and take this process that Mr. Jones recommend. I wouldn't think of month to month, but that's just not my opinion.
So before we move it forward, can we actually see what the contract would look like before we approve?
Well, we would have to draw up a contract. I mean, a person that's interim is, for example, myself, I'm interim. I'm in the position, I'm doing the job duties according to and I'm just following the
Just
contract that I have in place. I'm just taking on those extra duties.
So we don't have to do anything additional.
There's nothing additional that we need to do but approve it and get him the job description and come up with what we're going to pay him, which he's already at step 1. And that's what interim is, the beginning salary.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
So is he going to continue to be on payroll with CSM? How is that going to work?
No, he would transfer over to our payroll.
Okay, so we're just going to let him test run and not post the job? Is that what I'm hearing? Because if he's interim, then that means we need a permanent person. So is it the board's desire to just test run him and slide him over there? Or are we taking applications?
The position was already posted and he applied to it.
And
So it's like you're going to hire him on a trial basis.
okay, we also declined Mr. Pete too. We voted Mr. Pete down at one point, I thought. Did we not, or did it not never come before? I think we did because Ms. Stewart brought him forward. And that's what Ms. Wright was asking about. Remember, Ms. Wright said she didn't understand why the people that were voted on were turned down in you guys' HR meeting. So there was something, I thought, but okay, I could be wrong, but
I think we tabled it.
I thought we tabled it and we were asked to present a workshop on hiring procedures, which I tried to do, but we couldn't get the time in the group together.
Okay,
And that was supposed to take place September 2nd, but we couldn't get a group.
okay. Okay, that's all.
Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, per Treasurer McIntyre's request, we'll separate the vote. We'll take up a vote first on the retirements and resignations, and then we'll move to a vote on the recommendations for employment. So right now, I'll take a vote on retirements and resignations, and I'll do a roll call vote if that's okay. Trustee McIntyre.
Yes.
Trustee Green.
Yes.
Trustee McIntosh.
Yes,
Trustee McNeil.
Yes.
And it's a yes for me. Again, to accept the retirements and resignation, it's a 5 yes. And so that passes. And now moving to the recommendations for employment. Monica, do I need to take another motion for this one?
You would just act on them individually is what I heard. So just the motion is, are you moving it to the regular board meeting and you would do each one individually?
Okay, so a motion to move Miss Brandy Bevel to the board meeting. I'll entertain a motion on that.
and the board meeting, this is for
This is the cow for final approval.
tonight? No, okay, that's what I'm trying.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
okay,
yeah, for
making
final
sure,
approval.
okay.
Yeah, so I'll entertain a motion again for moving Ms. Brandy Bevel for final approval tonight.
And
Can I ask a question? Ms. Georgina, the question that I have is that we have, what, about 4 or 5 assistant principal here in our district? And then we select a person with less experience than our assistant principal. Are we considering our assistant principals for some of these principal position who has the experience
I
and
can
knowledge
go-
of the community?
I can go back and check and see if one of our assistant principals applied for the position. But we posted the position as a vacancy. They had every, right that they could have applied. As far as just putting them in that position, no, we looked to hire into the position.
So if assistant principal saying they applied for it and you saying they didn't, right?
I don't have that knowledge.
Ms.
Okay,
McIntosh.
thank you.
Ms. McIntosh.
go ahead, I mean, I'm about with Ms. McNeil, I'm gonna just leave it there and just utilize my vote.
Okay, so with that being said, again, I still need a motion in a second so we can move it to the voting process. To move again, Ms. Brandy Bevel to the regular board meeting for adoption tonight.
For lack of-
I'll take your time, take your time.
It might have been in your previous board package, the resumes and stuff.
Oh, here.
Well,
Page 10.
is it permissible to ask a question about the resume? Or are we just in the middle of something? Like, before,
Yeah, but sure.
so in the application resume, there's listed 3 references, but the letters of recommendation don't correspond with the references? Is there a reason for that?
Can you ask me that again?
So in the application for the principal position, this applicant has listed 3 references at the end of their resume and submitted 3 letters of recommendation, but they don't correspond with the references that they provided at the end of the resume.
So they provided 6. 3 names and 3 letters. That's permissible.
Is there a reason why? I mean,
That's
usually you provide references and then the letters go with the references, but
Well, some people want that extra push. If you can't contact these 3 people, if you didn't want to read their written, you could contact them verbally. That's common. I submitted 6.
So again, I'll ask one more time. We still need a motion and a second to move Ms. Brandy Bevel to the regular board meeting tonight.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Seeing none, the motion fails. Moving on to Mr. Peter Medor. I'll seek a motion in a second to move the consideration for Mr. Peter Medor as the interim director of Operation and Ancillary Services to our regular board meeting tonight for adoption.
So moved. Second.
It has been moved and properly second. Is there any discussion?
so this is for the interim. Sorry to be pedantic.
No, you're good. You're good.
But
You're
this is
good.
for the
Well-
interim.
Well, and kind of because if they're saying that they've already opened it up, it sounds like they don't plan on taking any more applications. And then if he's the interim, it sounds like they plan to just move him over. So I mean, because if it's not open for applications, then, and he's the interim, then how will you fill the position if you don't open it back up? So apparently, there has to be a plan to move him forward into the position.
Or, under the board's direction, we will repost the position.
Yeah, that's what
While
I'm gonna be
yes, ma'am.
honest, because I'm going to support Mr. Pete because Mr. Jones has requested my support for Mr. Pete, and there's no way I could even vote for my candidate, but I do want to see it reopened. So
Yes.
I will support Mr. Pete, as long as the position is reposted. And I'm going to be honest and document my concerns. Like I said, only because Mr. Kevlin, I know is a man of his word. And I know that he's going to make sure that because he put his neck out there, that situations are dealt with.
Yes.
But my concern is, like I said, the whole CSM situation and what went on at Doyle Ryder. I'm gonna be honest, I have a bad taste in my mouth for anything CSM, in all honesty, because I have undying faith in Mr. Jones. Is the only reason I'm even willing to think about supporting this. So,
Does the board support?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got a second on that. So it will be reposted if they accept this.
Yes, it will be reposted regardless, under president's concerns.
Is there any further discussion regarding Mr. Peter Medor? Seeing none, I'll move to a roll call vote regarding this. So when I call your name, please respond. Trustee McIntyre.
Yes.
Trustee Green.
Yes.
Trustee, Madam President McIntosh.
yes, with the added stipulations, yes.
All right. And Trustee McNeil.
Yes.
And it's a yes for me. That passes 5-0. I will entertain a motion to move the appointment of Monica Hicks Jackson to the regular board meeting tonight for adoption.
So moved.
Second,
It has been moved and properly second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll do a roll call vote to move this to our regular board meeting tonight. Trustee McIntyre.
Yes.
Trustee Green.
Yes.
Madam President McIntosh.
yes.
Trustee McNeil.
Yes.
And it's a yes for me. The motion passes 5-0. And lastly, I'll entertain a motion on the employment of Mr. Jamel Jones for the PE guest teacher at Brownell STEM Academy. I'll entertain a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second. Is there any further discussion?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, Madam
What
President.
are we on?
Oh, we're on Jamel Jones for the PE guest
Okay,
teacher.
right here, up here. Okay, I see it now. It's time for a touch up on my eyes. I'm
Oh,
telling
you're
you, the
good.
glasses ain't even working no more. Okay, PE grant.
Yes, ma'am.
And he is a PE guest teacher for Brondale.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank
So
you.
it has been moved. Trustee Green?
So being a guest teacher, is he a contract through
No,
EduStaff? Or is
no,
he-
he's in our tuition reimbursement, our
Oh.
guest teacher program.
Gotcha. I know
And
exactly
he's
what you're
already
talking
reached his 61 days.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Trustee McIntyre.
Yes.
McIntyre, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Trustee McIntyre, you're good.
Yes.
Trustee Green.
Yes.
Madam President.
Yes.
Trustee McNeil.
Yes.
And it's a yes for me. The motion passes 5 yeses and 0 no's. Board members, in your packet, there is information that Ms. Rubin alluded to earlier regarding the UTF grievance. Does any board members have any questions for Ms. Rubin regarding that? It's the green. Oh, oh, no, you're good. I know. You know, I should say any preliminary questions before we can. Trustee McIntyre.
I would like to thank Ms. Rubin for really making an effort to get the information to us in a timely way. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments from any board members? Seeing none, I want to thank you again, Ms. Rubin, for tonight. And seeing no further action, I declare the Human Resources Committee of the Whole meeting adjourned. I now turn the floor over to Treasurer McIntyre for the Finance and Operations Committee of the Whole portion of the agenda.
I would like to call the Finance and Operations Committee of the whole meeting to order. I will now call upon Mrs. Wolf to present action items to the board.
Good evening. I seek a motion and a second to move action item 11.5, approval of the special pest management services to the regular board meeting
So
for
moved.
adoption.
So moved. So moved.
Sorry, it has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yeah.
Trustee Walker.
I do have a, oh, sorry. I do have a discussion as it relates to the breakdown in payment. And I believe originally it was mentioned that, can you hear me? I'm sorry. Okay. I think originally it was mentioned that as it relates to the payment that it would come from the general fund. But I was wondering, as we're looking at the exclusion and services portion, is that something that potentially we could use the ARPA dollars for? As it, again, I understand that it's patching a lot of the spaces, but it seems like it could play into the ventilation space. So I just wonder, is that something, again, we could use instead of having to dip into the general fund for this? But with that being said, I also understand the urgency of the moment as well.
Do you want to put it into, I'm sorry, which fund?
So I was just wondering if, again, the exclusion services, that portion, like the 19,800, it seems like those services are something that could potentially be covered by the ARPA dollars, the recovery dollars that we receive from the federal government.
Yeah.
That way we won't have to take from the general fund. I didn't know if that was something that potentially we could explore. But again, I also understand the urgency of the moment given the situation as well.
So that's something that we can always explore, and happy to do so. Or sometimes when we're doing these, especially with the dollars coming in, in different batches, so
Yes,
to
ma'am.
speak, what we'll do is we'll front the money with the general fund, and then as soon as they're approved from the state, we move it from
Okay.
the general fund to those grant fund dollars.
Okay.
So that's something that we are continuously looking at, and we bring back to you guys if we make any adjustments. So every time we bring a grant to you with maybe new line items or changes in the line items, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're relooking at what we currently have spent to see if we can recoup it from the grant. Because sometimes we need things done now and can't wait
I get
for
it.
the approval
I get it.
process.
I get it. Thank you.
Yep, but happy to note that and make sure we look into that.
So does anyone else have something to say? So reading over the contract, it seems like pest management, it sounds very self-evident. However, that there might be some overlap with repairs that need to be done on this building. I mean, we talked extensively in the last meeting about repairs to the Doyle Ryder roof. And here there are indications where there needs to be roof repairs because we're talking about bat prevention and maintenance, which includes sealing up holes and entrances and ingresses and egresses for bats, which seem, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a roofer, but it just seems like if we were to deal with some of the repairs that need to be done, that this is superfluous or overlapping. Does anyone know anything about this?
So we haven't really got to Potter as it pertains to the roofing, and there has been some issues in the last couple of weeks with these issues. Now we could go and talk to Prudential about, certain areas of the building or even the cages that need to go over the chimneys, areas like that wouldn't have anything to do with the roof. I mean, we could have that conversation, but they're having an immediate issue with bats in the building. And so we wanted to bring it forward because it's just been a constant issue for that particular school. I know other schools may have had issues, but this school, having two schools in that building right now, we're serving over 400 students right now in that building. We were just trying to make sure that we address some of the problems that they brought forward.
I was just following up with the, says metal roof flashing, and, I just wondered if that was something that we might need to
Agreed.
make a note of
I
and
agree.
table. I think that maybe doing some of these repairs, these larger repairs is going to offset some of these tinier, little emergencies as they pop up. Yep. Yeah. So that was all. I just had that.
Timing. It's just really about timing.
I'd just like to add, I'm sorry, go ahead. I would just like to also say, our last week, we heard the roofer guy say that the roof could have been fixed for $30,000. Didn't he say something like that to that effect? It was like a $30-some thousand fix, one portion. The gentleman that came and spoke about the roof, yeah, he said something about a trim coat. He says something about a $30,000 fix to the roof. But my point is this, to catch these bats and abate them is $22,050. That's just to remove some bats and stuff. So now we could have fixed a roof for darn near the same money.
Fixed for $500,000.
Oh, we're back to all right.
Yeah.
Well, they need it. I mean, because it's more than what they initially said, because now we're doing everything, but their initial guesstimation was they at least,
Patchwork.
yeah, was for $30,000. So we could have at least done patchwork for the tune of what we've paid just to abate bats. So I just want us to understand that when we don't do the minute repairs, even though they sound major, like Ms. Laura said, we end up paying double that, because if more bats get into the building, we have to do this process again. And that can be another $22,000. So I just want to keep that in mind.
Is this something that we did a RFP for or got estimates for?
It's under the $25,000 threshold, so we wouldn't have to do an RFP for it.
Okay.
And we normally use Prudential.
We normally use this company. What do you mean? What does what does normally mean?
Well, this company has been the company that the district has been using. And so this quote was done 2 weeks ago with Superintendent Stewart and the principal at the school. And so when the principal let me know when I walked in last week that they were having issues, I asked her, did someone come in? Did an expert come in? And she said yes. And so I asked for this quote from the business office. And so when I talked to board president, we wanted to make sure we addressed it with the board and brought it forward to the board meeting. So if there is a reason why, if the board wants us to look into other companies, we can do that. They do have immediate issue going on at Powder that we were just trying to address. And I know there's a long-term goal with the roof and other things, their auditorium. I'm just speaking of the immediate issue that we probably will have some overlap.
Is this something that we could approach Tremco, given that they're a service provider that we're working with? Because it's possible, given that they're umbrella of companies, that they'd be able to address everything at once and it would be much less expensive. And this is casting no aspersions on you, Superintendent Jones, but I'm just cautious, let's just put it this way, of anything that comes short of the amounts, the threshold amounts, like anything under $25,000 or anything under $5,000, given the situation that happened with Tremco. I just would question any bid coming in just under what is required to make an RFP or just under what is required to bring before the board. And like I said, I'm not questioning you and your judgment at all, but I do have these questions. Like 2 weeks ago with the previous superintendent, is there, I know it's an immediate concern, but maybe Tremco could get it done quicker and cheaper. Joyce.
Well, I have my hand up next.
Joyce had her hand.
This is kind of expensive coming out of your general funds. And back to what Laura said, sometime maybe we could have got two opinions on this. but just paying this 19,000 for the roof, when we got a roofing company, could they have went over there and did something, the same thing, and plus they're gonna have to go there and do the roof anyway, am I correct?
We are planning to use Trimco throughout the process. So, I mean, we could look into
Did
that.
they look at this here and, just?
Trimco hasn't had we haven't done any work with Trimco as it pertains to Potter and the bad situation that they're currently having, so no.
Is it my time? Okay.
Trustee Green?
Have we worked with this company before?
Yes.
It is my understanding that we have. I would have to look further into that. What happened with this situation is that we received some phone calls about, actually, we were doing a walkthrough and the principal let me know, along with some other workers, that there's a bat in the building again. And so after addressing that situation and talking to the principal, and also talking to some of the other staff, this is a problem that they're kind of used to. And after talking to board president, it was something that we wanted to bring forward tonight to address that, so that the staff and the families didn't think that this was just something we're leaving out there.
Right.
So that's the reason why we brought it forward. It was something that we brought in. This was like a couple of days ago.
Right,
We just decided, okay, well, let's do what we can do. And if the board is giving suggestions, we're going to take them and we're going to go back and see what we can do. I just don't want us to allow this to be prolonged a very long time when there's complaints about this. And I know we have a bigger goal to renovate, but we have complaints about this. So I just want to make sure we're addressing it to the public and doing our best to solve.
Absolutely. So by no means necessary do I not consider this an emergency. It absolutely is. My concern is if we try or we attempt to get another estimate to do this work, how long does that take? And do we have somebody in mind?
So we can call Trimco. I'm not sure if
I don't
Trimco,
think they do that.
I'm not sure that, I'm not sure.
Okay.
But we can call other companies to see. We're going to be at their, if they can make it,
Absolutely.
we'll be working with their schedule.
Yeah.
Don't we normally use Bex pest control?
Pest control?
Yes, they're our pest control company.
But do
You
they
said
do
Bex?
Bex?
Did you say Bex?
BECK.
Okay. Yeah.
Bex.
Yeah.
Uh,
So my question is, if Bex does it or whoever, how long does that, you think that process will take? Because this is an emergency and a lot of times you have to pay for emergencies. A fee included in that because it's an emergency. So,
I'm not sure. I will find out.
okay,
I will
so
find out.
it's a tough one. Okay, thank you, Mr. Jones.
Yep, I will find out.
President McIntosh?
I would just like to remind the board that we voted for Troon to handle our RFPs as it pertains to our roofing and building structures and things of that nature, because he is a real estate attorney, broker, and he's fluent in RFP process. Trimco is a roofing materials company. That's it. So when they came to speak to us, they spoke about one type of shingles, Trimco shingles. And yes, they know people that do roofing because they're a roofing materials company. But for us to take them on and allow them to conduct business, know that we'll always get Trimco shingles, know that, and that will possibly play a part in the RFP bidding process. So let's keep our RFPs secluded to an attorney that we can hold responsible, who is already responsible to us, who we already is paying and have on retainer. I'm not
Agreed.
opposed.
I just threw that out there, like I said.
Well, no, I
didn't
just
have-
wanted us to
yeah.
keep that in mind when
Yeah.
we get to talking about RFPs. I see that we're bringing up Trimco quite a bit in more than one situation. They got brought
Well, I
in.
just said, for example.
Okay, they got
yeah.
brought in due to the Doral Rice situation. So if we need RFP, I would ask the administration to please make sure they direct that to Troon, the Troon Law Firm. Thank you. And it was,
We'll put a call out to Beck.
Okay,
We'll put a call out to, Mo's gonna call him in the morning
okay.
and we'll see. We'll see what we can get.
So could we perhaps table this and if necessary, have a special meeting if if necessary, to get some action done on this immediately.
Well, I'm sorry, I missed something. I, was that a
She's asking
motion?
to table, and if we need to do a special board meeting.
So you're making a motion to table
I
this?
can't make a motion. I'm the president of the committee, right?
You can move that we table
Yeah,
something.
all right, I move to table this.
Now, this isn't something that we already tabled from last week, is,
No.
okay,
No.
so I second that.
Is there
So,
any
can I-
discussion?
So since we're going to table it, is it a time frame we need to say, okay, we called out, we can't get nobody else, so we need to get this done? Is it a window of time that we need to keep in mind?
I would hope that we can find something out within a week
Okay,
so we can get moving.
what's the name?
And again, it's because we have two schools in one school, and this is a concern of staff. So I don't want staff to feel as though, and I know you don't either.
Absolutely.
No, you
Right.
don't either, but we don't want staff to feel as though we're not moving on this.
Okay, so hypothetically speaking, if we don't hear anything back or get another quote by Wednesday of next week, we call a special meeting and get this done, is what I'm thinking.
Sounds, if we could, Mo, if you could, in addition to calling and seeing about Beck's services, could you also get like a time frame of, say, Prudential Pest Management LLC, and see, maybe we can make a comparison with the amount of time as well, the time in addition to cost, and we can kind of like take both of those things into consideration.
Is that the position of Mr. Kavanaugh to do that, to call and get estimate?
Yes,
Okay.
you guys voted to have her help with operations, so
Okay, right.
Yeah, yeah,
You're right.
yeah.
Yes, you're right.
So, yes, ma'am.
Not about that. I wanted to ask about the information that we were supposed to receive on Tuesday from Miss, what is her last name? I don't want to call it, Miss
Wolf?
Tish?
Miss Wolf.
Miss Wolf. I wanted to, we were supposed to receive some pertinent information by Tuesday. Do you know anything about that?
We're in the middle of,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead then.
so we're in the middle of tabling or voting to table.
Oh, I thought we voted and, oh, I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry.
So, all in favor of tabling, action item 11.5 to the regular, no, what is it? To just tabling? Okay. Say aye. Those opposed, say nay.
Aye.
Okay, the motion, is tabled by a vote of 5-0. Thank you. It says to say thank you, Mrs. Wolf, but we also have a further question. So, Carol,
We were waiting on some pertinent information from, I think it was Plant Moran and Plant Moran Cressa that we should have received. Do you have any updates on that, ma'am?
I do not. I did reach out to him this morning again, asking for a status of when he thought he was going to come in and present the information. We did have a meeting with Plant Moran Cressa and the Treasury with MDE, and it's in a draft status. That's what came out in that meeting. Myself and Kevlin were also in that meeting. We both asked at different times for a copy of that during that meeting, and it's in a draft status, and they did not email it to us.
And so we sent a message today, because it was the request of the board, give us something. And so we did not receive a call back. We did not receive an email back.
I got no response back on it.
So we just need to document that because these are people that have been appointed to us from some state level who are supposed to be assisting us in our operations, and they have basically went ghost on us. I think,
according to our CFO, who is on leave, they are the only vendor who's able to provide this service to us as well.
well, maybe they are, but at the end of the day, if they're.
No,
the
I'm
only-
just saying, if they're the only ones and they're inadequate or they're not up to the task, then we have to.
Well, I think we're
Pursue
gonna have to
them.
get in touch with somebody on the state level and let them know that we have possibly paid for work or had somebody sponsor us to have work done, and they claim that they've done the work or have been doing the work, yet we cannot get any information that is pertinent to our day-to-day operations. This is nothing short of sabotage at this point to me. I don't think it takes this week because Ms. Donprey was saying before she left that following week, we were supposed to be wrapped up and have that information. Now, all of a sudden, we don't have any information, and then they expect us to be on point with our numbers and be on point with this and on point with that, but we can't get any of the professional services, yet we pay the professional fees. So that's really disappointing to me. Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions for Mrs. Wolf? Thank you, Mrs. Wolf.
Thank you.
Seeing no further action, I declare the Finance and Operations Committee of the Whole meeting adjourned. I now turn the floor over to President McIntosh for the Board Committee of the Whole portion of the agenda.
I would now like to call upon the interim superintendent Jones to present the board's committee action items to the board.
I seek a motion and second to move action item 21.7, approval to attend conference to the regular meeting tonight for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing there is no.
Right here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Green.
Okay, I see the cutoff date is October 8th for registration. Is that still the date?
Yeah, there's an early registration fee that is quoted in your packet.
Okay.
And so if there is any board member that is intending to attend this conference, I must know, and I believe the deadline is, I think I put it on there, is it September 24?
Yep.
Yep.
September
So
24.
I will need to know how
Okay.
many of you plan to attend.
Is that face-to-face or is that?
It is face-to-face.
I would
It's
like to
virtual too,
attend.
it says on here.
I would
So I
like to
hear
attend.
1,
I think it's, yeah.
Two.
I'm gonna do that.
3,
Did you count me?
4?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Ms. Kira.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Are there any other board members interested in attending the annual MASB conference? Okay, so she has the 4 of us. Seeing no further discussion, those in favor of moving action item 21.7 to the regular meeting tonight for adoption, say aye. Those opposed, say nay. The motion passes 5. Aye. Please continue, Mr. Jones.
All right. I seek a motion and a second to move action item 21.8, authorization to fill library board vacancy to the regular meeting tonight for adoption.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay. If you recall, board members, we voted to seek letters of interest to fill the vacancy on the board, on the library board. Monica has prepared a folder for each of you to review, and we must decide collectively who to nominate. Candidates' names are in the packet. Okay.
Does anyone want to recommend someone?
Is there any discussion or any recommendations at this time?
You got a couple hands going.
Okay. Ms. Green and then Ms. McNeil. Ms. Green.
I want to recommend Taekwon Buford for the
Okay.
board position at the library.
Okay.
My recommendation is number 4, Audrey Young.
Okay. Is there any other recommendations? Okay. Seeing there's no further discussion, those in favor of moving action
So
item.
you're going to have to collectively decide. I heard 2 nominations.
Oh, we don't have to collectively decide when we move it to the board table to decide now?
Yeah, because you'll approve it at the regular board meeting.
Okay, okay. Well, all right then. So we
So
got
let's get
2.
into discussion.
We got 2 nominations. We're gonna have to have discussion. Mo ain't letting us wiggle up out of it. So, any board members have any comments or?
I'd like to make a comment. I also recommend Audrey Young, who was actually, who ran for a board position, who's been to board meetings, and who also submitted an application for the vacant board position seat when trustee Walker was running.
Okay. So,
I recommended Mr. Buford because he's been working in the community for a long time. He's from Flint, born and raised, Flint Community School student. And he has been diligently, that's the young man I introduced you to, he's been diligently working with, even when he wasn't living here, he was still working with the Flint students, trying to make things happen. So I think he's committed. He's been to some meetings. He's here now. And I just would like to see this young, fresh gentleman get an opportunity to serve the community.
I'm in agreement with Danielle. I like Audrey as well, but in terms of her sentiments that she shared about Mr. Buford, I share the same. So I'll just leave it at that.
okay, so
Now you got to vote.
we got to vote then.
Do the swing vote.
No, you gotta have 4 votes, period. Don't we know?
If it's 2-2, you're going to be the deciding
Because that still only give you 3.
Right.
So somebody gotta change their mind. So we might as well.
I will state this. You have candidates before you for the Flint Public Library Board that have also expressed interest in serving on your school board. You have 2 vacant seats. So
Okay, you're right. I would like to, I'm gonna be honest, Miss Danielle, I'm gonna be honest. I would like to see, and I, to my understanding, I heard that Mr. Buford was an applicant for the school board.
he has put in an application.
And I would love to see Mr. Buford on the school board. I think he would be far more effective in, I believe,
Ms. Young is supposed to be.
She did it before.
well, no, he's applying for the school board seat. She is not.
She is.
She put her name in for the school
Well,
board?
she interviewed for it before, it didn't make
Well, I know she did before,
No,
but I'm
it's-
saying this time has she?
She's planning. She is planning to. Yes,
I heard that too.
she's
And
putting in her
the
application.
deadline for the school board seat applications are next Wednesday.
Can they
So-
hold both positions?
No.
Okay,
No.
see, so that's an issue. It's no need to vote on something this week and then next week we vote them on the board and then we have to fill the library seat again. So do we
Then do you guys
table
decide to
this?
table
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do that.
depending the results of the school board seat?
I think so, because there's,
Because we might get both of them for this season.
right.
Oh, that's true.
I would love to see, I mean,
Right.
I've spoken with this
Let's
gentleman.
table it. Yeah, let's-
Ask, we have Ms. Kay here, of course, from the Flint Public Library, if that's going to present any sort of issue for your library board.
No, we can certainly live with a week's delay,
Okay.
or even more if needed. You know, I think
Yeah,
the situation has changed for
Yes.
your board since this came up. So we're happy to let you take your first pick, so to speak. You know, it's really critical that you fill those seats on the school board.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am, thank you for
Yeah.
your understanding and for your clarity.
So I'll take the motion and the second as will table, meaning Secretary Green made the motion to, seconded by
Who seconded? Did I
McNeil.
second? Who seconded? I'm sorry.
McNeil to table pending the results of our school board vacant. Sound good, board?
Yes.
Everybody
Yes.
vote?
Those in favor of us tabling this action item, what is this, 21.8? Due to the vacant seats on the board, we're going to make decisions, so we can only make these decisions one time and not waste time. So we will table this discussion. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, 5 yes. And I would now like to turn the floor over to Secretary Green for Academic Committee of a Whole meeting.
Good evening, everybody. I would like to call the Academics Committee of the Whole meeting to order. I will now call upon intern assistant superintendent Kiana Murphy. Oh, I'm thinking it was gonna be Kevin. I'm sorry, Ms. Murphy, to present action items to the board.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
I seek a motion and a second to move action item 25.8, authorization to purchase approved items from Michigan Department of Health and Human Services Nurses Grant for fiscal year 22 to the regular board meeting for adoption.
So moved.
Second. It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
So we had, and I'm sorry that I'm unclear about this, but it seemed that there was a report about the water crisis and the COVID pandemic, that we didn't have sufficient oversight for nursing, for nurse service, health services, that there wasn't a good accounting of the money that was spent. Did anyone see that?
I did see that. I did. See
And so I don't know if this has anything to do with our nurses grant, but I have been just plagued with misinformation and not having enough information on, and I'm not saying on this particular one, but I'm just trying to get all of this information in order and trying to be accountable with the funds. And so I'm wondering if anyone else has questions about this, if it's connected with that report that's come out. Do you know anything, Ms. Murphy?
I don't. When you say the report came out, who did that report come from?
Do you remember? I think it was Michigan. What, the state? It was yeah.
It was a state of Michigan report about the financial expenditures of monies coming in for COVID and the water crisis.
I think so. It was a GISD. It was regarding the oversight of the GISD funds, not the Flint funds.
Is that, okay. Okay. Okay, so that was my question. Thank you.
Is there any more discussion? I just want to say because that's an interesting question, because I forgot about that. But is it something that we need to know in reference to that would affect this monies or spending it how we are supposed to spend it?
So I'm not knowing exactly what report we're referencing. We work closely with the Attorney General's office. With this particular program, is audited regularly.
Okay.
And so any expenditure reports that the AG's office requests, we send to them.
Okay.
For the portion of funds that are allocated directly to us as a district.
Okay.
So I would need some further clarity to understand if that report that you all are referencing is a reflection of funds that the ISD oversees, or is it a reflection of funds that the district oversees? The majority of these funds go to service, for the payroll for the 11 nurses that are in our district, which is specifically what these 11S funds were allocated to the district for.
Okay.
So I don't see that being a challenge for us, but because I haven't seen the report that you're referencing, I don't want to respond in a way that is inaccurate.
Okay.
But this allocation of 11S funds comes directly to the district, and the primary use of this is for the salary and benefits of our nurses that are serving the students in the schools.
Okay,
So I would have to look further into that. Any AG request that we receive for audit, we have to respond to it in a certain time frame.
Okay.
We have to send them the supporting documentation and any expenditure reports that they request.
Okay.
So, and that this grant for the nurses as well as the 11S grant for the social workers, we have to interact with the AG's office because these are legislative grants. And so anytime they have questions or need clarity or want service reports, we have to respond to those. So if there was a problem, we would know.
I was going to say, is it fair to say? Right.
Because
Okay.
they would notify us of a problem specifically towards our funds. So I don't want to speak to that. I'll have to look into that further, but any AG requests we receive, we have to respond to those.
Okay, so it's fair to say we haven't had any issues with the AG in reference to those dollars?
They're very thorough. I
Okay.
mean, we send them, over months.
Okay.
Pulling things and sending it to them. And so we haven't had I had a meeting with MDHH just this week, because they're very, want to be intentional because Ms. Tomasi is transitioning. So
Right.
myself and Ms. Carroll met with them for over an hour to discuss what that looks like.
Okay.
So we're trying to be on top of it so that we don't have any hiccups in the service. I will say, to Mrs. Tomasi's credit, she has been making sure that all of our protocols are in place, even with the changes. Things are, we know that the mandates have changed daily often. So she sent us new updates even today. And we actually have a site review in November for this particular program. So we receive a lot of oversight with these funds.
Good. Okay.
So whatever they request of us, we provide.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Murphy. I'm not surprised to hear that, especially with you in charge of it. Okay. Any more questions, guys? No more questions? Hold on. Seeing none, those in favor of moving action item 25.8 to the regular board meeting for adoption, please say aye. And those opposed, say nay.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5 ayes. Please continue. Oh,
I'm sorry, excuse me.
That's okay.
I seek a motion and a second to move action item 25.9, authorization to purchase approved items from School Improvement Grant SIG for FY21 to the regular board meeting for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any more discussion? Ms. McIntyre?
So I thought this wasn't voted to be brought, that this was this voted to be brought before? Because I thought it
was previously tabled and it's being reintroduced. It was not accepted during if you recall last month, it was not accepted and the committee recommended to bring it back forward.
okay. Yeah, thanks.
Is there any more discussion?
What is this that was not accepted? Because for some reason, I don't have
25.9.
I'm in here. This is the wrong pack. I understand that. And I packed this up because I'm like, what is going on?
So it was tabled so that I could get further information about the
Okay.
the K through 12 programs, about the SIG grant itself. Were any of the documents able to be procured about the background for that information, for that grant?
Mr. Jones, did you request that documentation?
So, yes, so what we've sent you so far, me and you have talked, there is more investigation that needs to come forward. We paused due to the fact that we were dealing with the Doyle Ryder and the Potter situation as we discussed. And so the baccalaureate program and things like that, we're still trying to get more information. I did talk to Mr. Akanicki, which was the principal, and he's willing to sit down to discuss what he knows as far as that program. But as far as documentation of why, that would be history, and we would have to try to figure out where that information is, or even if we have it. Because so far, what I've given you is all that's been brought forward to us.
So here's my concern. It's almost like this is water under the bridge at this point, because we've burned through our SIG grant for Southwestern. We're not going to get it again. That's a one-time thing. If anyone knows what the SIG grant is, it's a school improvement grant that schools get to help with their programming. We had an international baccalaureate program, and we had a dual enrollment program through University of Michigan, Flint. Full disclosure, I was one of the instructors for that program. So this is a 5-year grant, and we're talking about history with the grant. So we're just talking about 5 years. Where did this money go and why? This is my question that I've been asking even before I got elected to the board. And this is actually one of the reasons why I ran for the board seat, was to figure out what the heck happened to the IB program and through the dual enrollment program. Now, I've had conversations with Mr. Nikki. Sorry for butchering your name. I don't want hearsay. I don't want anecdotal evidence. I don't want conversations. I want documentation, because I'm angry and the public should be angry about this. I mean, we're talking about losing enrollment and having programs that bring people into the district. And these were programs that brought people out from outside the district to Southwestern to enroll. And I'm feeling a particular sort of way about this. I want to have an accounting of what happened to these programs. And it's not necessarily fair to Ms. Murphy and to the SIG coordinators and to Mr. Jones. I hope you're not taking this personally.
Absolutely
I'm
not.
talking about what's good for the district. And we need to look at this institutional memory that we've lost. You know, when we talk about history, we're talking about 5 years. That's not historic. We should be able to lay our hands on these documents. What happened to our outstanding IB program and our K through 12 dual enrollment program? I want to know, and somebody needs to be held accountable. I don't think that anyone's here that's left in the district that actually can be accountable for this, but this is the reason why I'm harping on it, and I'm sorry to take up so much time. Thank you for your indulgence, but this is very passionate to me. Obviously, you can tell. And it's one of the things that I think has been intentionally done to the district to undermine us. And I'm upset about it, and I want, like I said, an accounting. So at this point, thank you for trying to get the information to me. I hope we can move forward with getting that information, and you understand my urgency for that. So I will vote to move it forward to the board meeting so that we can vote on it, so that the teachers can get their stipends for the training that they've done, and so that, you know, so that right is right. I mean, I understand that, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from, and that as a district that we can pull together to figure out what's been wrong in the past so we don't repeat it again, and maybe we can fix some of these mistakes and go back to that level of excellence that we once had.
Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, those in favor of moving action item 25.9 to the regular meeting for adoption, say aye. Those opposed, say nay.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Ms. Murphy?
I seek a motion and a second to move action item 25.10, authorization to award community education program services for August 2021 through July 2023 to the regular board meeting for adoption.
So moved.
Second. It has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Ms. McIntyre?
So I have questions about the process. Is it true that they were the only the only organization to put in a bid for this?
That is correct. We hosted it twice, just wanting to be as competitive as possible. And this was the only entity to respond.
Okay. Again, it's nothing personal for you or the district or anything, but I have questions about how perhaps we could do better, because this is one of the partners that I think that there have been issues with, that there have been questions about, not about the excellence of service or about them as a educational partner, but I'm talking about some specific aspects of this service agreement. And I am very, very concerned about some of the numbers on this service agreement, including the control of the Crim Foundation over our community school directors. I've asked before how it came about that the Crim Foundation, why we lost our autonomy for our community school directors, and why the Flint community school directors are being hired and fired and supervised and under the jurisdiction of a nonprofit third-party entity. How did that happen? Do we not have the capability, the in-house talent, the will, the wherewithal to look after ourselves in our own district? And I know that there's going to be some people out there like, oh no, these guys are a mess, and this board and that and everything, but we have to have democratically elected representation and control over the people that we appoint in our school district. And I think this is unconscionable that we have a third party that's in charge of community school directors. This is like an abomination. It's almost like it's not community, it's not school, and it's under a third party. So can we go through this service agreement? Because I will not be voting for this service agreement. We can possibly vote for them as, to contract to do our program, but the specifics of the program are not in our favor. This does not favor the Flint Community Schools, and I don't see why we can't negotiate some of these terms.
Is there any more discussion?
Well, I spoke to Mr. White about some of the terms of the program. He seemed open to certain changes. I don't know exactly what you're imposing or suggesting. So what is it that you would want the directors to be back on Flint Community School Board's payroll? Or because if you're going to argue these things, when we go to him, we need to be specific in what it is you're saying.
So I think,
Mr. Thomas, are you listening? Okay, here's your portion. She's asking about your directors.
I think we need to,
I was saying Carrie Downs is here.
Yep.
Who works, she's over, helps with the current program.
Okay.
So if there's any questions, she is here.
Okay, so Crim
I'm sorry
people,
to cut
that's
you
okay.
off.
Crim people, you are on notice. Here's the problem that board member McIntyre says she is having with that program, and Mr. Ridgway White definitely seemed open to suggestions and making changes. So let's hear it.
I do want to just bring to the board's attention on item number 14, when you look at the contract agreement, it specifically talks about how the community school director will report directly to the principal during the hours that they're on campus. So we have in this agreement where everything that they do is under the direction and in partnership with the principal. So I'm just lifting that because it sounds like that's a part of your concern, but that is outlined in this for number 14.
so I would like to see the community school directors going back to their original roles and duties as community school directors. And I don't know how exactly to modify or amend this service agreement to do that. I think that would have to be hammered out. That would have to, like, the details would have to be discussed and agreed on. But does anyone else have an issue with the fact that we've got a nonprofit in charge of our community schools?
I don't look at it like they're in charge of our community schools. With being a former employee of CRIM, and I've worked with them firsthand. I see that look. You got to look like that. I'm just sharing my experience.
I don't know.
So, okay, so I see how valuable and necessary these programs are for children and family. And I've never been in a school where CRIM after school program has not worked closely with teachers, staff, families, and students. I think it's some misconceptions here or some assumptions being made, but firsthand, I've worked for the after school program. And I know if I had children in school, I would want them to be a part of it. So I'm not sure exactly what you mean when you say you want the community school directors to do certain things or not to do certain things, or us to control what they do versus a nonprofit. I'm a little fuzzy on that. But I will be voting for this because I know this is needed and necessary. So that's just where I stand. No, go ahead, Ms. McNeil.
I hear very well what Ms. McIntyre is saying, and I agree to exactly what Ms. Green is saying. But what we have to do is that we in a program where we might look at down the road doing a SWOT analysis. And that's the best way you start out with a program that's been around a very long time, is doing a SWOT analysis of that program, doing a program evaluation, because anything you put together can be improved. And that's what we're looking for, an improvement to that program. By no means would I vote no against this program and where we at and the condition that we at. But I would like to recommend it, and I think I spoke with Mr. Thomas in a meeting about that with Ridgeway, is doing a SWOT analysis and program evaluation. And that would address a lot of the concerns that the parents have. So anything can be modified. And that's my recommendation coming forth, that we put a team together. And it's not going to happen overnight because this has been going on a long time. And let's put a team together, some type of committee. I think I spoke with you and I talking about having these committees. And let's look at a SWOT analysis rather than trying to tear this whole thing down. And here it is almost 9 o'clock too. So, okay.
Ms. Green, if I could,
Yes, go ahead.
we're required to perform program evaluations. And so we have to hire an independent evaluator that doesn't have any stake in either side. And so we actually have, she's finalizing that. So I'll share that with the board as soon as I receive it from the program evaluator. And it's unbiased, is cost of families, is that reviewing the data. So we have to have program evaluations. And so we'll share that with the board if it's the pleasure of the superintendent once that is finalized.
I remember those evaluations, and then, and I've been a part of that. And I do, and when I say what I say, it's because of the evaluations I've seen and because I've worked in the after-school program. So I appreciate that. Is there any more discussion?
I'll say, as the principal door writer for 3 years, working with the CRIM program, it was always the action of the community school director to get direction from me. And if there was anything in their actual proposal that did not coincide with the program that I had at Door Rider, then we went back to the table and they actually scratched it or moved it or changed it. So my experience has been with Carrie and her team, even with Youth Quest, if there was something we wanted to add, they did it. So I would say the experience has been, when there was something that I felt that was not good for our particular school, we talked about it, we worked through it. And if there was anything I needed to see the community school director to do, they were just always game to do it. So that would, if that helps.
Is there any more discussion?
So I'd like to just say one more.
Okay, no, go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, I understand we have to provide these services and, I'm not trying to tear this down and say, this is, we got to, take it away. What I'm doing is trying to look at the service agreement and, just make it, to strengthen it for our district so that it's more in our interest, so that we have more, the autonomy comes back to us, so to speak. And so I'm glad to hear that there's willingness to discuss some of these line items. And so, I'm open to that. And so won't block this. But I would like to, always keeping in mind that this is in the interest of the district and just improving things as we move, always going forward and improving things. So I look forward to strengthening this program and our relationship.
Thank you. Is any more
Well,
discussion?
yeah, one more question.
Mr. Walker.
And with that being said, I don't know if this will be happening at a future meeting, but at one point we talked about bringing both programs in, have a conversation with our
Yeah,
board from an awareness standpoint. So I just hope that, again, that does reaches the agenda at some point so that can
And
build
they
more
would love
context.
to.
Oh, I know.
They
I know.
would love to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would love to.
It's true. Any more discussion? Seeing none, wait a minute, hold on one minute, hold on. Wait, the motion, wait, I'm okay. Wait, my script.
It's been properly moved and seconded.
Okay,
Those in favor of the motion, say aye.
those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Laura, what you say? I said aye. Okay, 5-0, thank you. I just want to make sure, please, Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
I seek a motion and a second to move action 25.11, authorization to award instructional leadership professional development services for August 2021 through July 2023 to the regular board meeting for adoption.
So moved.
Support.
It has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Ms. McIntyre?
So this, maybe I'm reading it wrong, but it looks like, and I understand this is from a grant, from title grants, but we've got $500,000 for 6 virtual training sessions. Is that what this is?
Not quite.
Okay.
And I will defer to Mr. Jones. I think his expertise around this is better than mine. So I will defer to him
Absolutely.
to provide an overview of what the fellowship program includes.
So the fellowship, what can't I say about the fellowship? The fellowship is for our instructional leaders, it's our principals, our leadership teams. It also pays them to come out on Saturdays to have more professional development in literacy. Michigan State University works closely with us. They prepare all of this work, and they work with us throughout the year. I know it says 6. You're seeing 6 PDs, but what it really is an ongoing working relationship throughout the year. I would say that it has actually been one of the best partnerships that I've been a part of in my 20 years as a professional, because not only do they help our teams come together and work with our schools with PLCs, but they work with the principals and they work to ensure that the goals that we have for MyKIP, the goals that we have for our district comes to fruition. So I know we're seeing that, but it pays for materials, it pays for teachers, it also pays for the principal, it pays for those that are coming to the program to be a part of it.
$500,000 is a hell of a gravy train budget for training. And I say that having run training programs, coordinated training programs. Wow, this is a fancy training program, and it sure is lucrative to somebody. And I understand that it probably does have value in some ways, but does it have $500,000 worth of value?
I would have to say yes. I would have to say yes.
Okay.
There's a staff of people that work with us, and it's just not 1 or 2 people, but it's a staff, and they prepare all of the documentation, they prepare all of the work for it, but they also work with us throughout the year. It's just not the 6. I hear you, board member.
I mean, I've
It's just not the
worked for
6.
U of M since 2008. I understand how, and that's why I'm kind of a little shocked by the budget. It does seem very excessive. And so I'm not, I would actually like to see a little bit more, because this to me, at least what is presented here in these few pages, does not sound like a $500,000 contract to me. And I'm just, and I understand that it's, a title grant, so it's like, oh, it's just grant money, but I'm tired of this. I'm tired of grant money just being whoop, I would like to see more accounting. I would like to see more details. This doesn't do it for me. It just doesn't. And given my expertise as someone who's worked in higher education almost 30 years, I'm not happy with it. I'm just putting it out there.
Well,
So what else would you like to see, Ms. McIntyre? Are you asking for something specifically?
Well, besides like 1, 2, 3, 4.5 pages, for $500,000, yeah, I would like, I don't know what there is to ask for specifically. This isn't good enough in my mind, that's all.
Mr. Jones, what are you thinking that you can provide for Board Member McIntyre?
I think we can
Can I
put.
see the curriculum? I mean, can I see like what?
I believe that Michigan State would definitely, Mr. Brian Beverly and his team would definitely take the time and speak to the board about what it is they do. We really need to get going with our literacy.
Yes.
So I'm not going to, I think that they can still come.
Okay.
Even if you voted or decided what you wanted to do, they will still come forward
Okay.
to speak to the board. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I just would like,
Mr. Jones.
we did receive a significant amount of RFPs for this particular service. The cost from Michigan State was in line with other services that were 100% virtual, that would not come on our campuses, that would not, stand side by side with our principals, with our instructional leaders. This is the meat and potatoes of our work. This is why we get to come to work, is because of the instruction that we provide. Okay. And so we had a cross sector of reviewers. I'm just only there as a budget person, right, to check the numbers. But principals were there, teachers were involved in the reviewing of these RFPs. So, just to share the process. So it's not just Mr. Jones arbitrarily deciding that he wants to make this decision. But we also did a program evaluation for this program as well, because absolutely correct to Board Member McIntyre's point, we have to be good stewards over our resources, right? And so we need to know if this program is moving the needle for our instructional staff and helping them build a capacity and how we teach literacy. Just giving an example, when we had to pivot to online learning during the pandemic, teachers had never done that before. Right. Our MSU fellowship team stepped up. They provided professional development. They helped prepare teachers to be successful at teaching online. Okay. So that was something that they were able to do very quickly, that we needed them to do, because none of us had lived in that space before. So even though I'm not directly connected to this work, because I'm not an instructional person, it was very clear from our instructional team that this support was invaluable to them. Okay. So we reviewed quite a few. There's companies, to Ms. McIntyre's point, there's companies looking for schools. They reach out to you for purposes like this to solicit you, right? And so
this is a very lucrative field, is my point.
Yes, professional development is significant.
Oh my God.
And so we have to get, and sometimes you do get what you pay for. And our principals were very loud and clear. Okay. Our instructional leaders were very loud and clear that this was helping them do the work of reviewing the data. That is a big piece. We need to be critically looking at our student data to identify gaps in instruction. Right. And how do we pivot when we need to go to online learning? How do we pivot when we need to make up for gaps? We have 18 months really of learning to catch up on in a lot of cases. We're going to need some very intentional instructional support in order to address those gaps.
And let me just say that every session we have, all the teachers, all the leaders give feedback. So we have that information.
That would be great.
Board members and Michigan State has that information with the teachers writing what they think about the program. And so we can bring them forward. I'm sure that's not a problem.
I don't need testimonials. I would just like to see actually more content of what actually was
Sure.
delivered. I really don't need testimonials because I know how that works too. Like and I just want to, like I said, I'm just very skeptical. Having worked in higher education, I know that this is a burgeoning industry where people are out with their hands out. And $500,000, I mean, I just want to like make sure we're good stewards.
Can I say something? Cost of living is not what it was 10 or 15 years ago. If you ever sit in these schools and see those program works, it benefit the teachers and everybody that's in it. Even I have benefit from, and I'm not even a certified teacher. They share that information across the board. And if you sit down in a classroom and see that, it's worth that money. It's not talking about 5 or 6 little people. You can be in a room and there's the whole class, 20 or 30 people. And worrying about $500,000 when we're talking about a better education. That's what's wrong with Flint now. We don't want to invest in good education. I don't want nothing cheap when it comes to this district anymore. We're trying to move this district up. So if everybody's in agreement, I'm ready to pass this.
Okay, let me just give Mr. Walker, he's had his hand up.
Oh, okay.
No, don't, and I agree with the sentiments that have been shared. And again,
Yeah, good
I'm not in the room during those sessions, but again, I take Mr. Jones' word for it. My only reason for speaking is I wonder if there's an opportunity with Michigan State, given their as a premier institution, to truly look at continued education for our teachers as it relates to whether or not they choose to go on a master's or whatever programs, and opportunities for like discounted opportunities,
Absolutely.
right?
But
To strengthen that.
and understand that most of what you're paying is for the teachers and the folks that are actually in the program. So most of the cost of this is teachers and principals and their leadership team. So it's the salaries that's most of the cost.
Okay, the salaries for what?
We have to pay the teachers to come on Saturday.
So the trainers, not teachers in the class, or are you talking about?
The teachers
The
that are
staff.
being trained.
I just want to clarify, this is directly for Michigan State University. The stipends for staff are not included in.
Oh,
what
I'm
is
sorry.
there.
Okay,
yes, I want to
okay.
clarify that. I want to make sure.
Okay, I'm
that
sorry.
Ms. McIntyre's understanding and interpretation of
Okay,
the contract is
all right.
correct.
I'm sorry.
I'd rather 500,000 goes to the teachers. I mean,
Mrs. McIntyre.
Well, I'm going to say this and I'm going to say it fast so we can move on because we have a lot of stuff to cover. The price of the training is set, and it's the same for everybody. So I don't think we get the opportunity to haggle that. It's either we have to pay up to receive the training or we don't get trained. Yes, I agree with Ms. McIntyre. Education is big business. Education is key to success as well. So it's just like any other business. If you want to reap the benefits of prosperity, then you have to invest. So, but I'm done with that. And I'll turn it back over to you.
Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, those in favor of the moving action item 25.11 to the regular board meeting for adoption, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, Ms.
4-1.
4-1, I'm sorry, 4-1, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Murphy. Appreciate you.
Okay.
Seeing no further action, I declare the Academics Committee and the Board Committee of the whole meeting adjourned. I now turn the floor over to
Oh,
President
sorry.
McIntosh for a regular.
I'm so sorry, Ms. Green.
That's-
I would like to call the Flint Board of Education regular board meeting to order. The time is 8:58. Lord have mercy. Okay, everybody is here. So we are. Yeah, we got the second page right here. I would like to entertain. Okay, I would like to entertain a motion and a second to approve the minutes from August 18th, 2021's regular board meeting, August 25th, 2021 special board meeting, and September 1st, 2021 special board meeting.
So moved.
Second?
It has been moved and properly seconded that we approve the minutes. Are there any corrections?
Yes, McIntyre told me that there is on page, I'll just note it for you guys here, we'll correct it, the vote that was taken, that is on page 4, where it says 4-1, she's the one. And so it should have said none, her name should have been down there for the one.
Okay.
So I will make that correction.
Okay, so, do we accept the corrections to the board, to the minutes?
Yes.
All in favor of accepting corrections signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The motion passes with, corrections, with accepted corrections. 4, and Ms. Laura stepped out of the room, so. Next, on our agenda, at this time, we will hear any comments from the public pertaining to items listed on tonight's meeting agenda. Comments about items that do not appear on the agenda will be addressed at the end of the meeting. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the board about tonight's agenda? Okay, Mr. Callahan?
Callahan, I have a felony. I have a drug felony. I'm qualified in construction. I've been doing construction over 15 years. I'm a problem solver. I am also an uncle, a father of my own. My own kid went to this school with this roof repair. Right now, she has her master's degree. She's ophthalmologist, does the eye surgeon in Atlanta, Georgia. And then another thing to get back to, when you see a felon, I'm a regular man. I did something bad. I paid for it. I feed the community. If you get on my Facebook page, I'm a member of ROCC. I am also the founder of Cloud Road Business District, a felon. I own multiple businesses. If you look on Facebook, you ask anybody that know anything about Cloud Road, Steve Callahan, Jermaine Turner. We clean Cloud Road up single-handedly out of our pocket. Yes, a felon. I'm rebuilding my community, and I feed the kids in the community, the ones who parents are felons. Half of these kids around here, parents are felons. So don't look at a person with a felony and automatically cast a vote that they can't do a job, because they really need to be hiring more felons, because the thing of it is, we know what the consequence is. A lot of people don't know what consequences is, and I'm pretty sure all of us have done something that we can get a felony for. So don't cast judgment without looking. As they say, be quick to hear, slow to speak. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Is there any other members of the community? Thank you, ma'am. We'll wait patiently. Take your time.
I want to say I am Pastor Miller, and I want to say that this is a good meeting. What you're doing is good. Give yourself a hand clap. You know what I mean? When people can come together and start communicating, that's when you can get things done. But the main thing I want to tell you about in communicating in your neighborhood, in your school, in your churches, do you mean what's right? We serve a righteous God. If you mean what's right, you got God on your side. Hallelujah. God is about righteousness and not weakness. I don't care what you have done in the past. God is a forgiving God. He said, all you got to do is repent and confess. And God said, I will forget it and throw it in the sea of unforgetful. So I don't care what you've done. But when you make up your mind that I'm going to change, that's all. But these meetings here, what you're having, now I'm new at all this, but you're going to get used to me though, because this is what I've been praying, that God people come together. You know, when they came together on the day of Pentecost, then the Spirit of God came, you know, And when peoples come together, that opened the door for the Holy Spirit to come in and work. Pray, Lord, give me what to say. Is my heart right? Do I mean to do right? Me, myself, I mean to do what's right. And I'm going to work at it and work at it. And I'm going to keep on praying and praying. And I'm praying for everybody and let everybody tell somebody they got meeting going on. It's a lot of meeting going on that I hadn't gotten used to. But I want y'all to help me to get used to it. I want to say it's more to it than just faith. The Bible says it takes faith and work. Go to the book of James. You just can't pray. You got to get up and do something. And that's what y'all are doing this afternoon. You're doing something. And my prayers is behind you. And I tell you, when I make up my mind to pray about it, it moves the hands of God. I want y'all to pray for me. God got you. Keep on doing what you're doing. You're doing good, Junior. Everybody's doing good that's coming here. Let's say thank you, Jesus.
Thank you,
Let's
Jesus.
say God got it.
God's got it. And faith without work is dead. Yes. Okay, and now we will receive the interim super. Oh, I'm sorry, we have somebody else. I am so sorry. Oh, I am sorry, Mr. Woodson. I did not see you laying low. I thought you had left. All right, Mr. Arthur.
I am so sorry to be hiding. I didn't think I would be invisible like that. Okay. In your agenda, I'm sorry. In your agenda, you have a grant for nurses and counselors. When they did the Flint water declaration emergency, GISD, Mr. Lopez was the superintendent at the time. And I told him that in that water declaration, GISD was supposed to give Flint Community School District money. They don't get to pick who you have as a counselor and a nurse. They supposed to just fund it. They are fiduciary. They don't tell you who to pick. He insisted that they didn't. So what I was doing, I was looking for the public act number because I was going over it with some people from the state at the time. So I know that it's there. I just have to remember where it was at, where I found it at. But they pay us. GISD got audited before, and $500,000 was missing. They said that they was working and going door to door, but they couldn't find the paperwork or documentation. What Ms. Laura was talking about is an article that came out August of this year. It's a whole lot of money in paperwork. It's like $3.5 million. It's like $40,000 that the State Board of Education couldn't find. And the state blamed it on transfer of power. And it's been over 3 years since the auditor's been looking for this paperwork. Flint has been shortchanged. We make millionaires. People come to Flint to become millionaires. They know that we're going to give it to them. They know that we're going to have people fighting each other when somebody try to expose those individuals. They say all we have to do is just give them $1,500 and they will find some minions to go against the person who's trying to expose them. It's a lot of money still here in Flint, but we have to go get it. We have to go take it. Don't be afraid to stand up and fight GISD, because we know what happened the last time that we fought GISD. We won. They changed the formula. They said that we couldn't get the formula changed, but we got it changed. They have to pay us. Don't allow Turncliffe, who is a protege of Lisa Hagel, who said out in public that she wanted our district dissolved. So don't allow them to tell you just anything. That money supposed to come to Flint School District with no strings attached. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Woodford. Is there any one present who wishes to address the board about tonight's agenda? Go ahead, sir.
And I am Taquan Buford. I'm gonna hold this because I don't like to lean over. Before I speak on what the trustee and the board member nomination, I appreciate that as well. I appreciate all of y'all. As far as on the agenda, though, I added up about, and I'm probably wrong because the numbers might be off, but I added up about $2.9 million in funding that y'all were discussing spending, intangible dollars that no one can actually see the results. Like nobody can see bats in the ceiling. Nobody can see the K through 12 outreach. Nobody can really see that. But what they could see is they could see the enrichment of at least at minimum the athletics. Student athlete is an important component of life now. I was a student athlete. I was actually a student athlete at Carmen for a year. Went to school with Adrian Walker for 1 year. I was a freshman taking senior classes, and I had a couple of classes with Adrian. That's our joke. I'm gonna keep that between us. I tried to, sorry, but and for me, seeing what Carmen Ainsworth was able to do with their school, it was 2004. They did not have an auxiliary gym. They did not have a weight room. They did not have any other wing that they built. And legitimately, by the time I was a freshman, 04 to the next year, which was 05, they had one whole wing done. And by the time the football season started, it was game 4 because I transferred in the middle of the season. They had a whole wing of a school built that the kids could go into from a whole other side of the school. And it was all tangible. It was like the community could see what was being poured in so that the residents could pour back into it as well. I moved back in April, and I really wanted to, but like nobody wanted me to because my opportunities were vast outside of this market. And I really feel like if we all get creative and start looking at what we can do for the actual kids that's tangible and for the parents, because the parents don't trust us right now. And I'm saying us because even if I'm off the board or if I'm in these seats, I'm part of y'all. Like I feel the same things that y'all feel, the same stress that she's speaking of, the same stress a parent feels, because at the end of the day, we just want to be good products of something. And I really want for the board to understand that we have to figure out tangible things and we have to invest in the athletics at least, because prime example, Beecher just lost their main coach, and their coach was an employee of a Flint school. So that meant that minimum $3,000 stipend was not enough to cover the cost of everything. And my time's up, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this down. But understand that being a coach requires program building from K through 12. A kid can come to our schools at 6, and by the time they turn 18, they are being raised by us. They spend 8 hours in the day with us. They spend more time in a Flint school than they spend with their parents if you add up that time over 12 years. So really look at investing in what makes the kid well-rounded. We have no programs at Potter. We have no soccer. We have no lacrosse. We have no golf. We have no tennis. We have none of these things that get kids into college or allow a kid the opportunity to be in the Olympics or something. But that's my time. I appreciate y'all sincerely. God bless all y'all too.
And thank you so much. Now, Ms. Green, is it on me or Ms. Green? It's on me. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, now we will receive the interims. Oh, okay. Ms. Muhammad?
Good evening. I apologize. You see, I have a crew that's following behind me.
That's okay.
Um, and that's because I've been out this evening with the children. My name is Audrey Young Muhammad. I've been out with the children this evening. We were over at the Children's Museum with the cooking class this evening. So it's been exciting the last couple of weeks, and they've been enjoying it. I've been enjoying it. We've eaten good and all of that good stuff too. But those are programs we want to see come back in the city. We want to see them come back to our school district. We want to see them come back in our communities. We're missing that. It was good time when you saw plenty of parents that was there with their little ones. They got a chance to learn a life skill, build a family camaraderie. I actually learned something different and new for myself today because they had to pick kale. So guess what they're going to be doing this winter when we get ready to cook greens? They're going to be picking greens because they learned a skill today. But those are the kind of things that they could come in and learn and do and take home and have a carryover because now they're asking. What can we go home and do? Professionally, I'm an occupational therapist, so I'm working with children and learning with some disabilities and learning how to do things. And I got one in particular who has some limitations due to, of course, the water crisis. But there's some things that we have to work a little differently with him, you know, working out with behaviors. So I'm learning a different way of approaching him in the respect of making him get engaged. Like he was saying to us tonight, oh, I don't like that. But we're taught in the class, we can't say we don't like something. We just say, oh, that's different. Or it's something different that I'm trying to use. So I'm learning. And I had to learn that now I'm carrying that over at home. Now you can't say that you don't like that. Try it at least. That's what we got to get our babies to doing and our children are doing. A lot of our children in the school district, as the young man was saying, many of them, their leeway into a college is through sports to be able to get a scholarship. We got to find a way to get those intramural activities back. So that way that they can learn how, because money's not always an option for them. They are not able or to be in a household to where they can save properly to be able to go to college. So they're looking for those scholarships. You know, I was amazed to see that the different sports that you don't think is instrumental or in colleges is very important. I got a cousin who excelled with shuttle putt. She got a full ride scholarship. I know someone with archery got a full ride scholarship so that they could go and play on a team. So those things are important. We got to find out the things that are important to not only to our children, but they are important to our community because those children came back and gave something back in their community. That's what we want to do is build up our community, and I'm here to help. I love doing things like that. You know, I'm a seamstress. I love to sew. That's something I want to do is bring back that sewing class to the community. We missing that. I missed that from when I was in high school. So I just thank you for the opportunity. I apologize once again for being late. Thank y'all. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you so much. Okay, now we will receive our interim superintendent's communique from Mr. Jones.
Good evening. As interim superintendent, I will be sharing the board communique for this evening. We know there have been a variety of challenges across the district recently, and that many are frustrated by how the school year has begun at Flint Community Schools. After all the hard work the district put into preparing for a successful start to this school year, this is not how we envisioned the beginning of this year. Please know that we are working diligently to address these issues to minimize, if not eliminate completely, any additional disruption so we can provide the services our scholars need to grow academically, socially, and emotionally. After our first intercession ended last Friday, we welcomed all scholars back to our buildings Monday. We successfully integrated our dual rider K-6 grade scholars into Potter Elementary as infrastructure improvement efforts began at Doyle Ryder. As our scholars return to the classroom, district leadership will be participating in parent advisory council meetings at each of our schools, giving us an opportunity to hear directly from our families. These meetings will take place over the next several weeks. We encourage families to participate in these meetings to stay connected, engaged, and up to date on the latest happenings in Flint Community Schools. The Board of Education, you can visit flintparents.org for upcoming meetings and more information. We will stay positive and continue working to ensure our scholars receive the high-quality education they deserve. We are developing a plan to address missed school days this year and will provide an update to our families as soon as possible. We remain dedicated to our families and aligned with our mission to provide our scholars with the education and skills they need for lifelong success. Meanwhile, Flint Community Schools' virtual learning option is underway through Jeanette Online Learning Portal, which began September 7th. It has been a great success so far, with more than 150 scholars K-12 participating in that program, some of whom receive Dell 3100 Chromebooks and Wi-Fi hotspots to ensure their success online. We know teachers are critical to the growth of our scholars. Thus, we ensure that all virtual teachers were certified subject area content experts. The teachers will grade scholars using assessments and detailed feedback. Teachers are also available to answer questions via email during office hours or by virtual appointments. Additionally, each virtual scholar has been assigned a mentor who is employed by Flint Community Schools. Mentors serve as the liaison between the scholar, the online instructor, parents, and administration to ensure an open line of communication. Our mentors work with their virtual scholars regularly, supporting them and building trust. Enrollment efforts also continue. To that end, we developed a 30-second promotional video, which has been shared on our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook pages. We encourage you, the Board of Education, to share it on your social media sites and with your friends and neighbors. Additionally, in August, our enrollment team conducted home visits to retrieve scholars who had not yet shown up for school. Going into our community yielded great progress last year. So we made sure those efforts were repeated as part of this year's plan. I reported to the board the other day that our enrollment was at 2,500 scholars, but we are now at 2,800 scholars. Supporting our scholars truly takes a community approach. And I have to put this aside because my heart says that we're going to continue doing what's best for our scholars. We're going to continue to work together as a community. And we are concerned with what our parents are concerned with. We are concerned with what our community is concerned with. And we will do everything we can to work with our Board of Education to ensure that our scholars are inspired, motivated, and educated and prepared for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Awesome. Yes. And I always appreciate Mr. Jones because he does go over and beyond the call of duty, and he really works hard to bridge any gaps that we may have between the administration and the board. So we really appreciate him for that. Board members, at this time, we need to nominate and appoint a new vice president due to Ms. Perry's resignation. Are there any nominations for the vice president? At this time, I would like to nominate Ms. Danielle Green.
I'll second that. I'll support that.
No, I'd like to nominate her.
I can't hear you.
I was saying, no, I want to nominate her.
Okay.
I'll support that.
Okay, so.
Support that.
Okay.
Me too.
Okay, so at this time, signify by saying A if you are in favor for. So at this time, signify by saying aye. Do we have to call one, or can we do the aye? We have to, okay, so we'll do a one-man roll call, name by name vote. As I call your name, signify yes if you support, no if you don't. At this time, Ms. Laura, can I have your vote?
Yes.
Ms. Green, will you be voting for yourself?
I think, yeah, I'll vote for her.
Okay. Mr. Walker, how about yourself?
Yep.
And Ms. McNeil, how about yourself? Okay. So it is, and for me, it's a yes. So it passes unanimously, 5 yeses for Ms. Green to become the new vice president,
Thank you.
which leaves a vacancy.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, guys.
So, at this time, do we have any nominations for Ms. Green's position?
Well, I'd like to nominate Joyce, Dr. Joyce, given that she's the co-assistant.
Yes.
Like, I thought she was gonna, like, that
No,
seat takes the.
No,
you
we're
know
gonna
what I'm saying?
vote. Yes. Okay, so,
I'll second that.
okay, so it's been, moved and properly supported. Do you accept the nomination? Okay, so at this time, we'll take a roll call vote. Ms. Laura, do you accept Ms.?
Yes.
Ms. Green, do you
I
accept?
accept her.
Okay, Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Do you accept yourself?
Yes, I do.
You do accept yourself? Okay. She's gonna accept herself. Great. Now I accept, the nomination for Ms. McNeil, moving into that position. So the motion passes 5 yes, in favor for Ms. McNeil becoming the secretary. And now we have Mr. Walker that we are hoping is going to move into Ms. McNeil's old position. I would like to nominate him
I'd
for,
like to nominate Mr. Walker.
okay, I second it. So it has been moved and properly supported. At this time, we'll take a roll call vote. Ms. Laura?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Absolutely.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
You sure you're gonna vote for you? Are you sure you want to do that? You're in full support of yourself. Okay. All righty. And Ms. McNeil?
Yes.
And it is a yes for me. Mr. Walker will move to the assistant secretary and treasurer's position. At this time,
Congratulations, all of you.
yes.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So at this time, we need to nominate, and nope, we're done with all of that. I went down the list without even looking. I'm rolling. I will now call upon Ms. Rubin to present the Human Resources Committee action items to the board.
I seek a motion and a second to approve action items 1.6, personnel recommendations with the following updates. We will not be moving forward with the principal candidate at this time. We will be updating the Director of Operations title to interim, with the position being reposted immediately. And we will be moving forward with the rest of the board packet as listed.
Okay.
So moved.
Thank you. Second.
Okay, it has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing there is none, those in favor for approving Ms. Rubin's suggestions,
Noted correction.
with noted corrections, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. The ayes have it, 5 ayes, 0 noes. Thank you, Ms. Rubin.
Thank you. I have one more comment.
Go ahead.
I have a phenomenal team. They're all listening. And so I received several text messages that no teachers applied and no assistant principals applied for this principal position at this time.
Thank
So I
you
just
so
wanted to
much.
let you know
Thank you.
that they were listening.
All right, thank you. Great job.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rubin. Okay, we're
Can I
gonna,
ask a question?
yes, ma'am.
So where do we go from here? Do we reopen that position up and put out another, how does it work?
We're going to have to discuss that. I would
Okay.
like to discuss it because at the current time, Ms. Bias is going to have to continue her role. We have been in conversations about, due to, our enrollment, we may have to split that with Ms. Bias being 2 days downtown,
Yeah.
3 days at the school, and getting some support in that area. Because what we don't want to do is cause chaos in schools. I'd
Absolutely.
rather it be downtown,
Right. I agree.
and we suffer the brunt of that than the scholars in the school and also the staff.
Okay, thank you.
And you said Ms. Bias does have support, because that's a lot on Ms. Bias. And in the absence of her being out of her building, I would like to know that she has support that she's comfortable with, somebody who's capable of handling the load.
So, as you all know, that we had extra duty stipends and there's some of her work that she is not doing, and so those extra duty stipends covered some of that extra work. So the full job description is not being handled by Ms. Bias at this time, and so we're going to keep it that way so we can ensure that she gets the support. We're gonna have some more conversations, so I don't want to just put it out there and say that's what we're doing, but I just want you to know the direction. And so, yes, we're going to make sure Ms. Bias has the proper support. We do have a school building with 90 scholars, and so some support can come from that principal, but we have to have those conversations in order to make that happen.
Great. Let's take care of Ms. Bias, because I like her and I don't want to burn her out and run her off.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So at this time, we have new business action items that are going to be continued. At this time in your packet, there is information reports. 12.10 check register from August 31st, 2021, which is through pages 42 to 78. You also have 12.11 balance sheet from August 31st, 2021, that is located on page 79. You also have 12.12 budget versus actual from August 31st, 2021's meeting on page 80. And then you have 12.13, the EDP monthly report from August 31st, 2021 on page 81. Does any board members have any questions about these things? Okay, seeing there is none, I will now call upon Interim Superintendent Jones to present the board's committee of the whole action items to the board.
I seek a motion and second to approve action item 21.7, approval to attend conferences.
So moved.
It has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing there is none, those in favor of approving action item 21.7 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. And the action item passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Jones.
You're welcome.
Okay, and next, I will now call upon Interim Assistant Superintendent Murphy to present the Academic Committee of the Whole action items to the board.
The academic.
Good evening again.
Academic committee.
That ain't what I
Yeah,
said.
he said
What I
committee
say?
of the whole.
Academic Committee of the Whole action items to the board. I hope that's what-
Go ahead.
I seek a motion and a second to approve action item 25.8, authorization to purchase approved items from Michigan Department of Health and Human Services Nurses Grant for FY22.
So moved.
Second. It has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor for approving action item 25.8 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, 5 yes, 5 ayes and 0 nays. Please continue, Ms. Murphy.
I seek a motion and a second to approve action item 25.9, authorization to purchase approved items from School Improvement Grant SIG for FY21.
So moved.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing there is none, those in favor for approving action item 25.9 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. And the ayes have it, 5 to the good. Please continue, Ms. Murphy.
I seek a motion and a second to approve action item 25.10, authorization to award community education program services for August 2021 through July of 2023.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to emphasize that it's with the understanding that we are going to have further discussions and move forward with the particular items in the service agreement.
And what was those? Because I'm just running down here. I'm not back to it in my packet. So can you
This is
refresh
for
me?
the Youth Quest and the CRIM.
Okay, so I think we lost Mr. Thomas, but yes, Mr.
Yeah, we already
Kevlin,
discussed. Yeah, I
can
just
you
wanted to
re-
lift that back up.
Yes, can you remind us when we're back in discussion with our partners about what was discussed here tonight? Thank you so much. Is there any further conversation? Seeing there is none, the motion seeing there is none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The motion passes with discussion and details. So we have 5 yes and none opposing. Please continue, Ms. Murphy.
I seek a motion and a second to approve action item 25.11, authorization to award instructional leadership professional development services for August 2021 through July of 2023.
So, second.
It has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I still have questions, and I really don't. I think we deserve the best as a district. I agree with that. We definitely need professional development, but this to me is just another example of moving the gravy train forward and on. I'd like to really see more of the tangibles of those deliverables, so to speak. So I'm not going to be voting for this at this time without further information.
Okay, that's fine, ma'am. Okay, it has been moved and properly seconded to my understanding. Is there any further discussion? Seeing there is none, seeing there's no further discussion, signify aye to approve and nay if you oppose.
Aye.
Aye. Those who oppose, signify.
Nay.
Okay, the ayes have it, 4 ayes and 1 nay. Was that an aye from you, Ms.? Okay, 4 ayes and 1 nay. The motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Murphy.
Thank you.
Before we adjourn, I would like to ask, is there anyone in the public that would like to address the board? Please come forward to the podium and state your name, address before beginning speaking. Is there anyone that wishes to address the board? All righty, seeing there. Oh, Mr. Arthur Woodson, laying low again. Oh, come on, Mr. Woodson, we're waiting for you.
I'm sorry, but I should have asked you the last time I spoke. When was the last time the schools was tested for lead? And who tests the school for lead? And do we still receive money from the state under Ms. McIntyre? Did the NRDC cover the school testing, and under the Concerned Pastors Agreement that they had to still fund the schools district for lead testing? Because I was looking at michigan.gov/Flint water, and they have samples on here from 2018. And I can't find any more samples on there. So when was the last time the school tested the water for lead?
Go
Thank
ahead,
you.
Ms. Laura.
So just to respond to that, what Mr. Woodson is referring to is that I was a consultant for the National Resource Defense Council. I was the community liaison for the settlement agreement with the city. And so I don't want to speak for NRDC, but I know that the settlement agreement was for the service lines in the homes in the city. So it did not include the schools. And the schools are exempt from the lead and copper rule. Like, schools don't have to provide information about lead testing. That's one of the gaps in the lead and copper rule. I believe, voluntarily provided lead testing information because that's in the interest of the community, but that's a huge flaw in our environmental legal system. So I don't know. I can't speak to the rest of it about when we've tested. I think it's a great point, but that's something else that would have to be
I
discussed.
know, I remember Dora, I'll just speak to it if you guys want me to. I'm sorry. I know Dora Ryder had testing, I want to say 2017, 18. When I was there, they were doing testing 2017, 18. I don't know about other schools, as I didn't know if they did it all the way around the district, but I do know we had lead testing around 2017 and 18. We can get more information on that.
Is there any further questions or discussion? Okay, we must fill out 2 vacant seats on the school board. Applications are due to Monica Elston by 4:00 p.m. on Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021. The board will hold school board candidate interviews on Wednesday, September 29th, 2021, starting at 6:00 p.m. here at the Accelerated Learning Academy. The public is welcome to join. Seeing there is no further action at this time, I declare this board meeting adjourned, and the time is now 9:39. Thank you, Mr. Kappa.